God exists, but he's not all loving. What is the creepiest theory known to mankind? You know how movies and shows always have this ancient alien race that came way before us, and were the new species? Well, technically, most likely that's wrong. We are near the beginning of the universe. If the universe was a person, we would literally just be out of the womb. In reality, we are the ancient species, we are the ones that come before, we are the ones some future civilization may see. Fossilization is actually quite rare. It takes extremely specific set of circumstances for a dead organism to even become fossilized, let alone survive intact to the modern day, to be found by humans. Because of this, there are likely millions of species we will simply never know about because none of them ever fossilized. For all we know, we might not even be the first intelligent species to evolve here on Earth. There could have been a species that formed a civilization at some point and then went extinct later on, but we'll possibly never know that because there are no fossils that formed or survived today. It probably wouldn't have been an advanced, industrialized civilization like the kind we have today, as we would have surely found evidence for it by now. But I could easily see something on par with ancient Egypt disappear completely after millions of years. That aliens truly do exist, the US government knows about it. And in exchange for slowly leaking alien technology, the extraterrestrials are allowed to abduct tens of thousands of citizens per year. A variant on this is that the aliens don't come from the stars. Instead, they live in vast underground tunnel and cave systems. Yet another variant is that the aliens aren't extraterrestrial, they are interdimensional, and what cultures used to call devils, demons, jinns, giants and dragons, we call aliens today, and ascribe a technological origin. There is a condition called anesthesia awareness, which essentially means that you wake up for a specific duration of your surgery while under anesthesia. You feel, hear and even smell everything. The scariest theory is that due to the forgetful properties of anesthesia, it's possible that while under anesthesia, you are completely aware of everything and experience it all, only to forget it by the time you wake up. People who experience anesthesia awareness are those who didn't succumb to some of the forgetful properties of anesthesia. In essence, it means that you feel every cut, cauterization and hand within your body for hours on end and then you forget it by the time you wake up. There are machines that can track brain activity, so this isn't supposed to be possible. But how much do these machines really detect? Do doctors actually use them? I hope nobody has a surgery scheduled anytime soon. That there is no secret society controlling everything, and humans are destroying themselves. And it's just easier to think that it's someone else behind all the evil. This is why all conspiracy theories exist. It's a reluctance to accept a set of bad circumstances, so our minds go into this imaginative state to create fantastical reasons to explain very unfortunate or unbelievable occurrences. Corporations and governments are a natural evolution of human development. And just how some animal species introduced to a foreign ecosystem can sometimes end up ruining it all by overpopulating, we're doing the same to our entire planet. There's no singular person or group in control that are trying to ruin everything. It's just that all these groups are vying for power and don't see what they're doing is detrimental to the planet as a whole, or simply ignoring that fact because they're selfish. A lot of conspiracy theories make a lot of sense when you think of them as a way to simplify concepts like good and evil into concrete heroes and villains because reality is too scary. Frankly, our mundane short-sightedness will probably destroy the world far more effectively than any truly evil person, and that's even scarier. There was a call into Bell Radio in the late 90s by a frantic guy claiming to be an ex-Area 51 employee. He sounds out of breath, and kind of sobby. He proceeds to say that he doesn't have much time, and that the aliens are extra-dimensional creatures which a precursor space program made contact with. He then says that the aliens have infiltrated the military and government, and that the aliens are planning to end a ton of people. He says that they will move some of the population to certain safe places across the world, then eliminate the rest of humanity so that they don't have to manage too many people. Soon after saying all that, the line goes dead. The band Tool took the recorded audio and put it on one of their albums with some slight changes, including an added ambient audio track, and just made it all that much more creepy. There's about 30 seconds of missing audio in the original recording, and a bit of a while later the guy called back and claiming it was a hoax. No one else is real. That I might be the only consciousness that actually exists out there and everyone else is some sort of AI. One version of this theory goes even further and much creepier, and suggests that mine or whoever's consciousness is just the result of the thoughts from a Boltzmann brain. What is a Boltzmann brain, you might ask? While given an infinite amount of time, anything and everything that might be possible no matter how unlikely can and will happen, including the random emergence of a consciousness from a series of fluctuations in void. This consciousness is a Boltzmann brain. Perhaps I and my consciousness are one of these occurrences, that has happened long after the death of the very last star and the evaporation of black holes in the dark, dead, cold universe of the far, far future. Perhaps everything I am experiencing is either the pure imagination of or some mad fever dream of this Boltzmann brain, as a way to cope with the never-ending darkness. And even more terrifyingly, maybe I, the Boltzmann brain, will suddenly wake at any minute and all of this will be gone in an instant. And finally, as a cherry on the top of existential dread, if the base human species has a limited run, then only a limited number of humans will ever live, let alone those who experience a life in the 21st century with experiences such as watching a YouTube video like these. However, with infinite time, not only could Boltzmann brains emerge, but if they can, then with infinite time an infinite number of Boltzmann brains will emerge. This means that according to simple statistics, I have a much higher chance of being a Boltzmann brain than an actual human being with a consciousness generated by a flesh and blood brain. God exists, but it's not all loving. There's a creepy theory, where it turns out God is literally the shepherd of humans. Shepherds don't look after sheep to be nice, they look after the sheep to prepare them for the butcher. Think about the Christian God. He commands Samson to commit martyrdom and kill thousands just to kill a king. He was willing to destroy and kill everyone in the entire village of Sodom before Abraham convinced him not to. He told Abraham to murder his own child as a sick joke. All traits of a psychopath. Being in God's favor in Judaism means that he won't murder you in some incredibly gruesome way just for existing. There's a theory that once you die, you just dream forever. Sounds great until you realize that includes whatever nightmare your mind comes up with. Something you couldn't wake up from. Even the good dreams, none of it would be real. Surreal, weird, stuck living in a world with no continuity, everything changing on a whim, and you wouldn't be awake enough to even recognize that. There's two possible explanations for how this could happen. 1, your brain basically goes into overdrive at the moment of your death, with your perception stretching out 1 second into seeming eternity. 2, it would have to do with some of the more scientific, but still entirely theoretical, concepts of higher consciousness. Ideas that there's something cosmic or quantum, or some other buzzword, related to consciousness that we might be connected to. Your mind can make seconds seem like an eternity, or, imagine this, when you sleep for, say 7 hours, you don't feel like it's been 7 hours, but, sure enough, you look at your phone and it's 7 hours after you were last awake. Your brain made you feel like it's been an hour or two when it has actually been 7. It could also do that but change mere minutes into days, years, decades, millennium, an eternity. Life extension tech will exponentially explode in the next century, transforming adult lifespans the same way antibiotics, vaccines, and sanitation irrevocably transformed childhood survival rates. If we hadn't blocked stem cell research, we could be the ones living youthful, nearly disease-free lives, but we've missed our chance by 1 or 2 generations. Not a theory, but a condition. Sometimes a pregnant woman's brain can just break. She begins to believe her child isn't hers, or that it's a demon, or an alien. The worst part is these are perfectly healthy people who are otherwise happy and well-adjusted beforehand. But when they get so far along in their pregnancy, the hormones can do something in their brain to change them completely. They become obsessed with the idea that their baby isn't theirs, is some foreign object invading their body. The idea that for some people the happiest time in their life can be a time of pain and madness for others is terrifying, especially since there's just no telling if or when it will happen. Astrophysics and all the theories about the universe get pretty weird, but false vacuum decay and strange matter stand out as particularly scary to me. In physics, things like to occupy the lowest energy state possible. Metaphorically, the universe wants to be lazy. False vacuum hypothesis basically states that our entire observable universe may not be in the lowest energy state possible. That universe could get metaphorically lazier. But what exactly does that mean? Well, the foundation of everything in our universe is that current energy state. If the universe were to shift into a lower state, well, things might stop working. Could be that the universe gets slightly weirder. Could be that the universe just ceases. And we'd be unable to know or do anything about it, because this shift would happen at the speed of light. It would just hit us at some random, unpredictable moment. Strange matter is a hypothetical form of matter. There is a running hypothesis that negatively charged stranglets, strange matter particles, may possess the ability to convert regular matter into more strange matter. If even a single stranglet impacted Earth, we'd all be transmuted into a giant glob of strange matter. Of course, we've yet to actually prove strange matter is real. Furthermore, space is so vast that such matter, if produced, would likely fall to an inert lowest energy state before it encounters anything important, for example, us. Quantum immortality. The theory states that you will never really die. Any near-death experience you've had in your life is a point where you died in an alternate timeline, but your consciousness moved onto another timeline in your body, where you survived, however close it was. If this theory is true, then that means you will never ever die, no matter what horrible things happen to you or how decrepit and tortured your body becomes. You will one day be nothing more than a tortured pile of flesh and organs with no escape. This is a theory and obviously unproven, and there is going to be variance in the theory as people explore what they think is possible, probable, and otherwise. That every time you sleep you die and someone else wakes up in your body thinking they are you. Or the other theory that you will live out everyone's lives at some point, and you have already lived out a few, but just don't remember. It sucks because you're not gonna know when you wake up as a kid only to be prepped up to have your head sawn off and posted on the internet. And then live that same life over and over again, until you're the killer. It's just part of the continuous consciousness paradox. At what point of loss of consciousness can we call it dead? If we had the tech to store and return consciousness to a surrogate body after death, did you die? If you did, how is that lapse in consciousness different than sleep or passing out? The SCP Foundation's theory of non-reality, 3001, that can be entered via a wormhole becoming broken and ejecting matter midway through it. It is a dead zone between realities that is in a sense infinite and contains no matter, gravity, space and time has very limited interactions with it. Due to the reality scale of said space being nearly non-existent, matter decomposes over many years. Years spent in non-reality are like seconds in our world, and living organisms slowly break apart whilst being mostly alive in the process. Being trapped there is a horrible fate where you are in utter darkness and loneliness for years as your body decomposes while you are still alive. For me it's a question, how far back in time would you be willing to jump if the reward was $1 million? And say the money would be presented to you through a legitimate source, like winning the lottery. If you jump back 2 seconds, fine, you'd still be hearing the question. 10 seconds? 30? A minute? 10? At what point are you jumping out of your present mind and turning into another person completely? Why should that person get $1 million for you, now, to die? And does it change if you know it's coming? You're going to live a whole day of your life and then jump back to this moment, and get $1 million deposited in your bank account tomorrow. Your future self won't have any memory of the promise or any idea it's coming. So did you murder your future self? Boötes Void, a section of space that has very few stars. One theory is that a technological race has figured out how to make Dyson spheres. Also, AI might have taken over and exterminated the original creators' lives and is following a runaway program to continually build Dyson spheres, and the void may be continuing to grow exponentially. I may have focused on the most salacious elements, but we all know it's real, and the AI demon lords are coming for us. Do people actually believe that humanity is omnipotent? Because in lieu of omnipotence, all is futile, at least in my mind. A domesticated animal has no survival instinct, so if the owner decides to just throw them out on their own, they die. Apply this on a global scale and what you get is the idea that humanity is just a group of monkeys in space, and the moment something is thrown at us that we don't understand, we will inevitably die. If the universe were to suddenly throw a black hole into near orbit, there is nothing humanity could do to stop it. In the end all we can do is hope that we develop the technology to deal with whatever we can come up with, but the minute the universe throws something at us that we haven't thought of, and thus don't have the technology to deal with, humanity is impotent. Thus in that moment all we will be able to do is sit back and laugh at our own incompetence. And if at the end of all things all we can do is laugh at our own helplessness, isn't that the same as realizing now that in an ever-expanding universe, the odds of us predicting and solving every problem for all of time seems non-existent?